Most men are slowly bleeding attraction from their relationships, and they have absolutely zero idea it's happening. She's not cheating, she's not fighting, she hasn't packed a bag, but something behind her eyes has already shifted. That warmth she used to carry when she looked at you, it's cooling. And you're sitting there thinking everything is fine because she hasn't said anything. Here's the uncomfortable part. She probably never will. She'll just gradually stop reaching for you, stop laughing at your jokes, stop initiating. And one morning, you'll wake up next to someone who feels like a polite stranger, and you won't even be able to pinpoint the exact day it started. Nobody wants to admit this, but women don't leave men in dramatic explosions. They leave in silent inches. And by the time you notice, she checked out months ago. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 traits, not tips, not tricks, not hacks, 5 fundamental masculine traits that either keep a woman magnetically locked into you or slowly push her toward the exit. And I promise you, at least 2 of these are going to make you uncomfortable. My name is Olivia. Welcome to Love and Logic. Let's get into it. There is a dangerously comfortable lie that modern culture keeps feeding men, and I see it everywhere, in movies, on social media, in advice columns written by people who have never sustained a relationship past 18 months. The lie is this: just be yourself, and the right person will love you exactly as you are. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Sounds like something you'd stitch onto a throw pillow and place on your couch. But here's what nobody tells you. Be yourself is the most misused piece of advice in the history of human connection. Because what if yourself, right now, is emotionally unavailable? What if yourself is directionless? What if yourself hasn't grown since 22? Being yourself is only powerful when yourself is someone worth being around. And that's not an insult. That's a wake-up call. Because the men who are actually succeeding in love, the ones whose women look at them like they hung the moon 8 years deep into a relationship, those men didn't just be themselves. They became intentional versions of themselves. They identified what actually creates sustained attraction, and they sharpened those edges without apology. Women are not complicated. I know the internet has turned female psychology into some unsolvable Rubik's Cube, but the truth is far simpler and far more confrontational than most men want to accept. Women respond to specific masculine energies, not money, not abs, not the car you drive, energies. And when those energies are absent, no amount of gift-giving, sweet-talking, or relationship label slapping will save you. Let me show you what I mean. Let me paint a picture that might hit a little too close to home. Imagine a woman sitting across from a man at dinner. She's telling him about something that happened at work, maybe a conflict with a colleague, maybe an idea she's excited about. Mid-sentence, she notices his eyes drift down to his phone. He picks it up, scrolls for 3 seconds, puts it back down, says, "Sorry, what were you saying?" Now, technically, he's still there. Technically, he asked her to continue. But emotionally, he just told her she's less interesting than a notification. And before you say, "That's dramatic," no. That is precisely how the subconscious mind processes interruption. Not logically, emotionally. She won't bring it up. She won't say, "You just made me feel insignificant over a screen." She'll just file it. And every time it happens, that file gets thicker, thicker, and thicker, until one day the file is so heavy, it collapses the shelf entirely. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think attraction dies because of some cataclysmic event, an affair, a betrayal, a massive fight. But that's Hollywood nonsense. In the real world, attraction doesn't die in explosions. It dies in paper cuts. Hundreds of tiny, unnoticed moments where a man silently communicated, "You are not my priority." And this is just the surface. This goes so much deeper than phones at dinner tables. This is about a fundamental misunderstanding of what feminine attraction actually responds to. So let me break down the 5 traits that either anchor a woman's devotion or erode it completely.
The first trait, and arguably the most underestimated, is undivided presence. Not just physical proximity. Any man can sit on a couch next to a woman. That means nothing. I'm talking about cognitive and emotional presence. The ability to be fully absorbed in this moment, with this person, and make every other demand on your attention irrelevant for that window of time. Here's the harsh truth. Most men are physically present, but psychologically somewhere else entirely. Their body is in the room. Their mind is on the game, the deadline, the notification, the stock ticker, the side project. And they think because they're within arm's reach, they're there. You're not there. You're a warm body occupying furniture. And I want you to understand something about female psychology that will change everything if you actually absorb it. A woman's emotional safety is directly tied to how seen she feels, not provided for, not impressed, seen. When she's speaking and your full attention, eyes, body, energy is locked onto her, something primal registers in her nervous system. It says, I matter to this person. I am safe here. When that signal is absent, she doesn't just feel ignored. She feels alone inside a relationship. And that is one of the most painful human experiences there is, being lonely next to someone who's supposed to be your partner. Now here's where it gets controversial. Some men hear this and think, so I'm supposed to just stare at her all day and drop everything? No, that's not what I said. What I said is, when she needs your attention, she gets all of it. Not 70%, not half, all. Because every time you split your focus during moments that matter to her, you're training her to stop coming to you altogether. And when she stops coming to you, she starts going to someone else. Maybe a friend, maybe a coworker, maybe someone who actually puts their phone down. You will not like who fills the vacuum that your absence created.
The second trait is what I call internal fire, and most people mislabel it as ambition. It's not about ambition in the traditional sense. It's not about chasing a six-figure salary or building an empire. This is about something far more magnetic and far rarer. It's about a man who has an engine inside him that runs whether or not anyone is watching. Let me ask you something. If nobody was ever going to praise you, reward you, or even acknowledge your progress, would you still wake up tomorrow with drive? Would you still pursue something? Would there still be a flame? Because women are not attracted to your results. They are attracted to your refusal to be stagnant. There's a massive difference. A man who's broke but building carries a completely different energy than a man who's comfortable in coasting. The first one terrifies mediocrity. The second one has surrendered to it. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. A woman will follow a man into uncertainty, into financial difficulty, into career changes, into the unknown, as long as she can feel that internal engine still running. What she cannot follow is a man who has quit on himself. Not quit his job, quit on himself. A man with no curiosity, no aspiration, no hunger to become anything more than what he currently is. That's not peace. That's stagnation dressed in comfortable clothes. And women know the difference. They feel it. It's not about what you do for a living. It's about whether something inside you is still alive and moving. Because when that fire dies in a man, something in her dies too. She just won't always tell you that's what happened. Third trait, decisive momentum. This one will spark some debate, and I don't care. A man who cannot make decisions is exhausting to be in a relationship with. Full stop. I'm not talking about controlling behavior. I'm not talking about dictatorship. I'm talking about the basic masculine capacity to assess a situation, weigh the options, and choose without needing to crowdsource every single life decision. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't care. You pick. No, you pick. This sounds harmless on the surface, but multiply that dynamic across finances, living situations, family planning, career moves, weekend plans, conflict resolution, and what you get is a woman who slowly starts to feel like she is the only adult in the room. Here's the psychology behind it. When a man consistently defers decisions, a woman doesn't interpret it as politeness or equality. Subconsciously, she interprets it as a lack of leadership. And whether modern culture wants to acknowledge it or not, the feminine psyche craves a partner who can steer, not just ride along. Now, does that mean you need to have every answer? Absolutely not. Does that mean you'll always be right? Of course not. But there is something deeply attractive about a man who says, "I've thought about this. Here's my take. Here's where I think we should go." Even if the destination changes, the fact that he grabbed the wheel matters more than the route. A woman doesn't need a man who's perfect. She needs a man who is moving forward, even slowly, even imperfectly, because motion communicates capability, and stagnation, no matter how you dress it up, communicates fear. Number 4, and this one is going to challenge everything the alpha male internet has told you. Radical transparency. The lie being sold to men right now is that vulnerability is weakness, that showing your cards is a tactical error, that real men keep their pain folded up in the back pocket and never let anyone see the creases. That's not strength. That's emotional constipation, and it is destroying relationships at an epidemic level. Here's something most men don't understand. A woman's trust is not built by your competence. It's built by your honesty. Specifically, your honesty about the things that scare you, the areas where you're falling short, and the places where you genuinely do not have answers. When a man looks at a woman and says, "I'm struggling with this. I'm not sure I'm handling it right, but I'm not going to pretend I have it figured out," that doesn't diminish him in her eyes. It cements him, because she already knew he was struggling. Women are surveillance systems with intuition. You are not fooling her. You are only frustrating her by pretending. And here's the deeper layer. When you refuse to be honest about your inner world, you are protecting the relationship. You're isolating yourself inside it, and she will feel that wall. She'll bump into it every time she tries to get closer. Eventually, she'll stop trying. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she's tired of knocking on a door that never opens. Transparency doesn't mean dumping every emotion on her lap. It means having the courage to let her see the real architecture of who you are, cracks included, and trusting that the right woman will not use it against you. The men who build unshakable relationships are not the ones who perform strength. They're the ones brave enough to be seen. And the 5th trait, one that gets criminally overlooked, is emotional lightness. Not comedy, not being a clown, not turning everything into a punchline. I mean the capacity to regulate the emotional temperature of a room. The ability to take a hard day, a stressful week, a tense moment, and gently bring the pressure down without dismissing it. Here's what I've observed in over a decade of working with couples. The relationships that survive the long haul are not the ones with the fewest problems. They're the ones where at least one person, usually the man, has the ability to say, "Yeah, today was brutal, but we're okay. We've handled worse. Let's breathe." That's not toxic positivity. That's emotional anchoring. And women are magnetically drawn to it because the world is already heavy enough. She does not need to come home to more weight. A man who can make her exhale, not through jokes, but through energy, becomes irreplaceable because what he's offering her is nervous system regulation. He's offering her a safe space where she can put the armor down. And most women are walking around in emotional armor all day long. Work, family, obligations, societal pressure. When she steps into your space and can finally just breathe, you become the place she never wants to leave. But if your energy is perpetually heavy, perpetually tense, perpetually wound up, she will start associating you with stress. And once a woman starts associating a man with stress instead of peace, the countdown has already begun. So what separates the men who keep attraction alive from the ones who watch it quietly bleed out? Awareness. That's it. The men who sustain deep, powerful, lasting connections with women are not genetically gifted. They're not richer, they're not taller, they're not smoother. They're simply more aware. They pay attention to the emotional climate of their relationship the same way they'd pay attention to a business they care about, a career they're building, a body they're training. They don't wait for her to break down and deliver a tearful monologue before they adjust. They notice the subtle shifts, the shorter texts, the slightly quieter evenings. The moment her laugh loses half a second of its warmth. And they address it, not with panic, but with presence. These men understand something most don't. Attraction is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. You don't win a woman once and then coast for the next 40 years. You re-earn her every single day, not through grand gestures, but through the quality of your attention, the consistency of your integrity, and the steadiness of your emotional energy. That's what separates men who are chosen from men who are tolerated. So here's my challenge to every man watching this. Go quiet for 10 minutes tonight. Seriously, put your phone in another room. Sit down and honestly ask yourself, which of these 5 traits am I weakest in? Not which one do I like the least. Which one would my partner say I'm failing at if she felt safe enough to be brutally honest? Because I promise you, she already knows. The question is whether you have the courage to know it too. Growth doesn't start when it's convenient. It starts when it's uncomfortable. And if even one part of this video made your chest tighten, good. That's not an attack. That's a signal. That's your own awareness trying to get your attention. Don't ignore it. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Which of these 5 traits do you think is the most important? And which one do you think men struggle with the most? I already have my answer, but I want to see if you agree. And if you're a woman watching, be honest. Which one of these would you say is the biggest deal breaker when it's missing? Don't sugarcoat it. This is a space for real conversation. If this hit different, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, even if they won't like it at first. Especially if they won't like it at first. My name is Olivia. This is Love and Logic. I'll see you in the next one.